All right. Well, and hello again from the Crotchety Old Men podcast. Hi, I'm Gary Smith, one of the co-hosts of the Crotchety Old Men podcast, and I'm really happy that we're starting our third season, I believe it is. Time goes by so fast that we hardly recognize the passing of the days and stuff like that. So, but hey, here we are for another exciting season of the Crotchety Old Men podcast. We've expanded our broadcasts and stuff. So, hey, if you happen to be anywhere near YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Instagram, you name it, we're there. And so hit the subscribe button below too,
Press the button.
Press the button. That's right. Hey, there's that show on there, Press My Luck. Well, press the doggone button.
There you go. There you go, Smitty. Don't hold back.
Yeah, that's right. Press the button because not only does it incentivize us, but your sponsorship and support certainly help us, to pay the bills, keep the lights on, and keep things rolling. So we look for that support, moral support, financial support, all the support we can get. The three crotchety old men here we certainly appreciate having you. So got that out of the way, PSA. And so, gentlemen, boy, look
What
at my
up? What
brother.
up? What up, Doe?
Right now, everybody know who we are, who we is, what your name is over there, man. What's going on, PC?
Hey, everything is Jake, baby. I can't call it any other way but beautiful. I'm here with my brothers, and
Amen.
we're here for another season of broadcasting. And I'm just glad to be in it.
Yes, sir. And there's
George,
our
what you gonna
chief.
do?
Hey man,
The man,
another day
the
under the
man.
sun, man. You can't beat that. I woke up
That's
this
right.
morning. I saw the dust on the ceiling fan, and it's another beautiful day. It's another opportunity to get with my brothers here and talk about things that we enjoy and things that have made us progress in life. And we're at that ripe old age where we're trying to pass some of these nuggets along. So to our faithful listeners out there. So hey, I'm ready to get it started.
All right, then. Well, enough said. Maybe let's get this party started. What's our topic for today?
Well, Smitty, as we all try to do, is we always try to keep, reading as much as we can. I stumbled on a article about 9 rules for longest living people. So I thought that was something that we want to talk about. Because I was reading another article and it was saying 2 things that affect everybody. You know what those
Two.
2 things are?
I got an
Money
idea.
and health.
Money and health.
Money and health.
All
And if
right.
you're not concerned about if you're not concerned about them, guess what? They will infiltrate you and they will be concerned about you. Okay. So money and health,
All right.
two
I
things
like
that
that.
everybody thinks about.
Money and health. All right. Well, let's reverse that order. I like health and money.
Okay. Health and money.
Well, that's good. All right.
However you want to spend it, brother, it ain't going
Right.
away.
It ain't going away.
Everybody, I don't care who you are, young, old, those 2 things will cross your mind and be very important in your lifehood. So, I was looking at some statistics. We're trying to start off with some numbers. So right now, 76.4 average age in 2023. Okay, that's the average age of a man in America. That's how long they will live. That's the average age. Okay,
Oh, life expectancy.
life expectancy. Yes,
Wow.
You
sir.
say the life
Yeah,
expectancy is what, George?
76.4. 76 years and
Four
point four. I
months.
don't know how to, I guess in 4 months, I guess.
Yeah, 76, 4 months. They got that thing down to a science now. Huh? All
Yep.
right.
Over
So
over
what
70
what
over 70,000 Americans have reached the age of 100. So that's pretty good.
That's pretty
That's
darn
pretty
good.
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I read another article and they were saying by the year I think it was 2030, they were saying there would be more people over the age of 65 than over the age of 18.
Yeah, at the rate they killing young folks killing themselves, yeah, I can see that. I mean,
Yeah, people ain't having babies like they used to.
no, that's true. Oh, that's a whole nother topic on there. It's because of the music.
And you
It's
got
the
a
music.
point. You got a point. You got a point. Because you've been in the military, and Reveille is based off the C note, which is a vibration that gets you riled up, versus the A tone, which is a calming kind of note that gives you some calming kind of vibrations. So you got a point there, Gary.
Well, I was kind of looking at it like this. Um, Speaking of music, see Teddy Pendergrass turn off the lights or come on over to my place. It's gonna get a whole lot more mileage than Lil Wayne cussing and carrying on talking about let's beat it up,
Oh,
snap it up, and fuck it up with women.
absolutely, absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely,
so
You're absolutely
absolutely.
right.
so that's where I was going with the music thing. There was more love songs, there was more romance and things of that nature during our era. So consequently, we made more babies. Now these folks are at war with each other. So I don't get it. Matter of fact, I'm not going to linger here too long, but I don't even understand how young folks date anymore. My goodness, with the
Oh
music
yeah,
out.
Date.
that's a whole new, that's a different podcast, man. Yeah, I don't
Oh,
understand it either myself. Yeah.
yeah, but
But let
moving
me
right
throw another
along.
st- let me throw another statistic at you. So um, the 76.4, it was the United States. That's America.
Okay.
So around the world, they have what they call the blue zone, and these are countries where the life expectancy is 10 times more or longer than
Mhm.
America. And you have countries like
Mhm.
Okinawa, Japan, Costa Rica, over in Greece, Italy. These countries, these folks live longer. So hey, that's something to keep in mind. I know a lot of people trying to run from what's going on with this political climate. They want to look, maybe want to look at some of these countries to go to. They want to live a little longer. So I
Well,
thought that was an interesting statistic, also.
Well, here's
I
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Let's reel back to what you were saying about the life expectancy age. I'm curious as to what model that is. What man is living 70? Because you got disparities between white men, black men, non-Hispanic white men, non-Hispanic black men, and the disparages are quite interesting in my opinion. So let's look at that for instance. 2018, you had non-Hispanic black women living 76.8 years. You had non Hispanic white women living 79.9 years. Okay. Now you go to the non Hispanic black men, they're living 69.7 years versus
Hmm.
non Hispanic white men at 74.9. Okay. So you have anywhere from a 1 to 3% um, difference between the ages that I think that very few people talk about as far as the age disparities and why those age disparities exist. And it's for a number of reasons. Like you mentioned, George, and I like what you were saying about the various regions when you talked about the blue zones. They eat differently. They prepare their food differently. There's a lot of reasons why you have a blue zone in the first place. The way they practice medicine is totally different. The Caribbean has some of the best medical practices in the Western Hemisphere. You got Cuba, you have Costa Rica, you got Panama. Their medical practice is better than it is in the United States by far. So when we talk about that, we need to include, what base models that we're looking at, because they can be awfully misleading on the one hand, and on the second hand, for those of us that have those disparaging numbers, what can we do to circumvent, the outcomes that we're facing as a result of that?
Yeah, before we get into some of the things that we can do to make our life a little bit longer, is one of the statistics you just gave. Well, yeah, women live longer than men, and that's
Yeah,
the
they do.
statistic you just gave us. So if you didn't know, now you know that women, statistically live longer than men.
And what's interesting to
yeah,
me is that non-Hispanic black women live longer than anybody. And now that's a number that's really tripped me out. 76.8 years versus although a white woman, hers is 79.9. 9 years. But the disparity between those two models is so starkly different from the disparity between the two models when we talk about black men versus white men. You know, the disparity is almost 3 or 4% more in the men versus the 1% in the women, which I find kind of interesting.
I'm gonna give you one more stat. Okay, so when they first started Social Security, the year that you could start taking was 65 years old. The
Right.
average lifespan of a man was 62. So what does that tell you? They didn't expect you to live long enough to take it.
Dead
But
men
Right.
don't cash checks.
it's like dead man walking, right?
Yeah, I said dead
That's
men
right.
don't cash checks.
Exactly,
That's right.
exactly.
That's
These are
right.
little things that people don't really think about. So it's interesting that when you start looking at statistics, what it really brings out. So when we talk about what can allow you to live longer, okay, the average American sits 13 hours a day and walks less than 4,000 steps.
That's now
Now
because our
that
parents
right
weren't
there.
letting us sit that long at all. Matter of fact, we had to get the hell
Yeah,
out
we were
of the
talking about
house.
that yesterday. I gotta
Right.
say, yeah, that was our favorite expression.
Hell
We
yeah.
start doing something else. Get out the house. Go
You
outside.
had to get out the house, go outside.
Get
That
out
didn't
the
happen when we were growing up at all. This is a new trend
exactly.
altogether.
Yeah,
Lifestyle changes. That
yeah.
Yes.
I
that's what it
mean,
sounds like.
so
Yeah, that's a big
so
deal,
those
Gary.
things that you have to do is you have to keep moving. We talked about that earlier, and we talked about our daily routine of exercise. You have to keep moving. If you're sitting at a desk, you can do like little leg exercises. One of the things that I used to do when I worked every day was walk the steps in the building. It was a
Mhm.
10th floor building. I made sure I walked to the 10th floor and then back down to my floor at least once a day. I walked the parking lot. So those are kind of things that you have to do, as an individual, if you want to, keep it moving.
I do that even now when I visit a office building or go to let's say Friday when I went to a medical facility. It has 7 floors. Matter of fact, my appointment was on the 7th floor, and so what I did was walked. I know I could have taken the elevator and stuff like that, but it was an opportunity to walk up those stairs and down the stairs. So my wife and I, we both walked. And typically that's what we'll do. Well, one of the major reasons we do that, she's has a phobia about elevators unless they have a glass window where she can see out of them. And I just see it as an opportunity for us to do something together, in addition to things that we do in our regular routine. And so we walk the stairs. Or, you like to your point, park my vehicle way away at the back of the parking lot or whatever, and then I'll walk and stuff. And now, when if I visit a big warehouse like a Sam's Club or a Costco's, I'll go up and down the aisles or I'll walk around the outer perimeter. And heck, those buildings are typically anywhere from 100 to 200,000 square feet facilities. And so you walk around that bad boy, you have walked maybe a quarter of a mile or a half a mile, but that's a walk that you would not normally get out of your daily routine. So
And I used to
just
do
keep.
the same thing, Gary. Not to cut you off,
Mhm.
sorry about that,
No,
but
no,
I
no,
do
no,
the
no,
same
no.
thing when I was working at Delta Airlines. That corridor from the T
Mhm.
concourse to the F concourse was, what was it, like a mile and a half, something like that. So instead of getting on that train, I would walk those courses, man, and before you know it, you sweat. And like you said, Gary, it beats, these warehouses that you go to or whatever, it beats, getting on that scooter and riding around the thing. You want to use your body and get your body to move it.
Absolutely. We all talked
Yeah.
about it as we joined the call this morning that, Gary said he got his 3 miles. I got in my 5 miles. Paul did his thing. But during the day, they have a name for it. It's called exercise snacks. Okay. So,
Mhm.
during the day, you want to get in that little extra walk, like you say, from the parking lot or or the stairs in the building, or, what I've done, start doing now, I'm trying to make it a habit is when I'm watching TV, when a commercial comes on, I get up,
Yeah.
and if I just walk, around in a circle, I walk into another room, I come back. just because if you think about it, if you sit, especially with Netflix and all this other stuff, there ain't no commercials.
Right.
So if you sit and watching a series, man, you may sit for an hour,
That's
That's
right.
right.
That's
and
right.
not even think about it. If you watch two episodes, you can
That's
sit for
right.
2 hours.
That's right.
So we
That's
got to be
right.
conscious of that. You got to be
And then
conscious
let's
of that.
talk
And
about
I'm
the
glad you said
science.
that, George.
Yeah,
No,
let's
no,
talk
no, no.
about the
I'm just going
science of let's talk about the science of sitting. Okay, when we sit for a very long period of time, our blood is not flowing at the same rate. So what does that mean? That means that your blood pressure is higher because it's having to push the blood harder to get around to circulate through the whole entire body, and in some cases, people get blood clots from sitting too long, which is why if I'm in an airplane more than 2 hours, I wear compression socks. And they
okay.
can laugh at me all they want, but they got some smooth super cool compression socks out now with colors and patterns in them and whatever. You wouldn't know what they are, but it's important to realize, if you're sitting in a car on a long trip for 2 hours, you're sitting on an airplane more than 2 hours, you're sitting at home more than 2 hours. You need to get your assets up and get off that couch and get the movement, like George said. Move when the commercial comes. That's a good indicator to get up and
Yeah.
and 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 move your behind.
Exactly. I look forward to it now. Like George, you were saying earlier about watching series, and typically you used to not get a commercial in a series, but now you do. You get a little break, 15 seconds or whatever it may be. So when it comes on to that little series, I just put it on pause and take me a little walk, do some
Mm-hmm.
lunges or whatever. I'll be acting silly doing the lunges and stuff, but hey, while I'm having fun doing that on the way to the
Right,
fridge, okay, or
right.
whatever, I'm getting in some work, and then come back and start it again. And so, hey, so there's a lot of opportunities to move our bodies. We just have to take advantage of it and get rid of that mentality. I don't feel like. Stop that. Oh, I don't feel like moving. I don't feel like walking that far. I don't feel like getting up. And anytime that thought or urge come to you, that's the exact time you need to get up.
Well, you know what, and I'm going to, before we go to point number two, I'm going to say this last thing. It's not even that we deny it within our mind. It's that we get so comfortable in front of this computer or whatever we're doing that time just goes, so quickly. So,
Mm-hmm.
that's the first habit you have to break, is not sitting on these computers and looking at all these, the Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff, which is I try to stay away from that.
Yeah, I banned that. I banned that stuff almost like I've banned TV. I haven't been back on Facebook in probably almost 7, 8 months now, just to go on it. Every now and then something may come up, or now stop the notification so I'm not distracted
Hmm.
by that. And I tell you something else, because a lot of y'all, and I'm going to say y'all, a lot of you have turned LinkedIn into a doggone social platform. Okay, you're posting crap on there about mud deer and graduations and all that nonsense. And LinkedIn originally was about connections and business and networking. And so again, banned LinkedIn as well, because you can't do anything out here without it being socially. And nothing wrong with socialism. Don't get me wrong, y'all. But for my listeners out there, can we just have at least one platform, just one, where we can talk about business, empowerment, financial literacy, more importantly, financial freedom, and what we're talking about today, how to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. Please?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, and just on that, point number two was socialization. Say yes to happy hour. Not
Hey.
necessarily going to get drunk, or you going to see how many beers you can have, but it's the socialization with people. You
Yeah.
don't realize how many people in this world are isolated. Their phone don't ring every day. They sit at home all day looking at TV. That is not healthy.
Mm-mm.
That is not healthy. You have to get out. You have to socialize. That interaction with people, like you say, gets your blood flowing, makes you think about things. You really feel like, find out what's really going on in the world. But it helps you, your health.
Right. Right. And I know a lot of people like Family Feud, but look here, man, don't let Steve Harvey be your only friend. You spend hours answering them damn questions. They ain't sent you one dime. Okay, not one. All right, so hey, get out, get you some fresh air, and enjoy life.
That's right. That's why I play golf.
Indeed. Indeed.
I've met
Indeed.
so many people, new people. I met a brother just the other day. I was out at Browns Mill and met a new brother that that we connected, played golf together. So I've met so many people just playing golf. It's just so refreshing.
That's where your relationships and your network is built and created too. A lot of us don't have or have not taken advantage of the social activities that are around for us all. It doesn't matter how old you are, and especially when you start to
Exactly.
get older. You know, that's your network. If you're looking for a job or you're looking for a handy person or you're looking for somebody, a plumber, whatever. Typically, someone in your network has that person or can connect the dots to you to connect to someone looking for another position, whatever that may be. Okay, want some information. By just getting out. Traveling is another good method. Travel more often. Get out, go somewhere. But to your point, George, is that socializing has a lot of benefits, other than just going out drinking and just for the drinking's sake. So absolutely, take advantage of those things.
Yeah, because when we went to London this summer, we went to a local pub, and I was just amazed. And it was like a Wednesday. And this place
Mm-hmm.
was packed. And one of the people said, "Yeah, that's what they do. It's like pre Thursday, pre Friday. They just get out they just socialize." And
Enjoy.
for the young folks out there, especially if you're looking for a job, if you're trying to connecting in the community at one of these community centers. I mean, I met so many people when I was younger, at my kids' basketball games or football games and things
Right.
like that, that'll
Right.
become lifelong friends. So if you're in a situation where you need a job or you need this or you need that, and you're just sitting at home on the computer trying to get that done, it ain't gonna happen. You
Yeah.
got to get out and make connects. You got to go out, get out and socialize. Because hey, as I always said, the best way to get a job is through a recommendation of somebody that knows you.
Exactly.
It's been said
Exactly.
before that your net worth is in your network, and
That's
that's
right.
true. That is so true. You know,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. The next point is take time to downshift. Stress is a thing that's on us. And it's important that you take time to take a breath. And just kind of sit back and meditate. If it's just an hour a day, breathe in, breathe out. But you can't allow, the 6 o'clock news, the 6:30 news, the 7 o'clock news, the shows in the morning, the Good Morning America, the this and that and this, just bombard you with all this stuff going on in the world. You gotta sit back. You gotta get some quiet time. That is so important for your health.
And it's so many things. You say it's so many things. It ain't that many things that they tripping about on the news. They just looping the story over and over and over and over again. The same old story. So what do you have? You sitting here listening to some stale news, sitting on the couch, probably with some ice cream, a pint of ice cream or something like that, when you really need to be getting up and getting out. And then, like George, like you were saying, keeping your ear to the community is an important aspect too, because you find out these offerings in the community and society where you don't have to sit, you don't have to be alone. There's services out here, health services, services for food, pantries, and so forth that are available to you, and you'd be surprised what's in those pantries. When you come
you
to
know,
them. So yeah.
yeah. What's interesting about news? Chances are you're going to hear it, whether it's good or bad, from somebody, whatever. So I look at that acronym of news. Nothing else worth seeing. All right, and it's just that simple. There's nothing else worth seeing because once you've heard it, why you got to sit there for hours watching that crap? Okay, get out and make some news. Okay, make some memories, make some events, and some things that we're creative beings. We were put here to create. All right. Obviously, we've created a lot of the good things and certainly the minutia that's in our lives. We created a lot of that stuff, either by omission or commission. And so, if we're here to create, then why not create something wonderful, something memorable, and something useful that we can enjoy for the rest of the time that God has allowed us to be here. It's atrocity, in my opinion, man, to sit up and waste that precious life, waste that time, because there's someone somewhere in an institution of some sort, whether it's a mental institution or a hospital or shucks, even incarcerated, sitting in a place and a space and time where they rather not be. So if you have the ability to walk, then walk. If you have the ability to talk, then get out and talk to somebody. If you have the ability that where you can help somebody solve a problem and answer a question, whatever, you get out. Get out of the house and get out of your own way and enjoy this thing called life because it's so precious. And I always have this saying that tomorrow never comes, neither does later.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we'll talk about that again because I like that saying, tomorrow never comes. I like that.
It
That's a
never
good one.
comes.
But the next thing on the next point is a plant-based diet. And I know that's not for everybody, but food is so important. You got to break your these habits of all this snacking and stuff, and eat fruit, more fruit and vegetable, green stuff. I mean, you have to change your diet. This food, this food is killing us. They put
100%.
some and they put so many additives in these food. We were talking the other day. We had some milk in the refrigerator. It had been in there for like 3 weeks. I'm like, I ain't never seen no milk last for no 3 weeks. I mean, what are they putting in it? You put a loaf of bread on the counter and it lasts for a month and a half. It's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? So if it's lasting like that, I definitely want to put it in my body.
They call it
Yeah, you
preservatives.
strike a match and it's liable to catch on fire and burn up. That sounds like a science
Exactly.
project. It's been in the refrigerator 3 weeks. Something might need to be growing up in there because
It's interesting you mentioned. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
food is your refrigerator and your baskets with all your vegetables in it ought to be your medicine cabinet. That really ought to be your medicine cabinet. Now, one thing that's important, and George, you started to touch upon it right off the bat when you started talking about the food, was that some foods are not for everybody. So I'd like to lay out just a little blurb here. Let's look at blood types. Okay, blood type A. Blood type A does not need to eat meat. Blood type A is one of the older blood types, and when you think in terms of older blood types, most of us, when we started here on this earth, were herbivores. We ate vegetables and fruit until we learned how to make weapons so that we could hunt. Okay, and so the blood type B comes later after A, um, and that blood type requires you to eat meat. Because of the protein distribution and the way um, uh, B blood type works with the proteins that's in the meat. You got to have it. So blood type A, no meat. Blood type B, you gotta have meat. Blood type O, and that's the absolute oldest blood type in the world. And you can do either or. You can either eat meat or not. So two out of the three blood types allow you not to eat meat and still be healthy. Okay, so that's one thing you might want to keep in consideration when you think in terms of what kind of diet plan that you want to put together and have a plan so that you can look at what you eat in the morning, what you eat in the afternoon, what you eat in the evening. And if you're on a plant based diet, 9 times out of 10 you'd rather graze than to scarf. So when we talk about grazing, we're talking about eating 5, 6 meals, little small meals a day, versus scarfing, eating one great big meal, and you sitting on the couch and can't move, and you go to sleep and whatnot. You know the drill. We've all seen it. And it certainly makes your health um, a whole lot better when you look at eating that way.
And it's just small tweaks it's the small tweaks in your diet, really. It's not, it's hard to
Right.
make a humongous change, but if you just do, small tweaks, cut out this, add that. I try to eat, orange banana every day, strawberries on my salad, grapes on my salad, blueberries, every day. Just small tweaks. And you know what I cut out? The salad dressing. I don't eat salad dressing. That's got talking about preservatives and salt and all that stuff. So my salad dressing is fruit. So it's just small tweaks that, and then after a while, that stuff you enjoy it. And that's all it's about. Eating is for enjoyment. So we just have to find things that are healthy for us, but that we still enjoy. When I play golf, my snacks are apple, peanut butter. Those are what the snacks I have. As far as additional water and stuff. But those are the kind of things that you have to add to your diet, and then you take something away. You got to cut out the chips and the things like that. Or if you're gonna do the chips, maybe only do them once a month. You're gonna do the cookies, only do them once a month. You know, so that's the kind of things that you have to do. Hey, fellas, we got 9 rules here, or 9 items to go through. We're at number 5 right now. This might be a good time to stop and give our audience some good old words of wisdom, and then have them come back next week and hear the other 4 items. I think that we don't want to overburden everybody. I know everybody got precious time, so what do you guys think about that?
I think that's a
Sounds
good
like a
idea. It's
plan,
good.
George, and we can discuss the other 4 in another podcast.
On our next podcast.
That's right.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right.
All right.
What kind of words we got to sum up today?
Well, these words today come from the Lakota shaman Black Elk, who once said that we don't have to heal the earth. She can heal herself. All we have to do is stop making her sick. To this simple truth, I would add that the earth can heal us too.
Oh, that's right. That's
All
a
right.
good one. I like that. She can heal herself. She don't need our help. I like that.
Right. You don't need our help.
I like that.
That's right.
Right.
And as we always say on the Crotchety Old Men, hey, if you didn't know,
Didn't know now you know.
Now
you know.
All right.
All right. Take care. Peace.
Peace out.
Hi, this is George with the Crotchety Old Men podcast. Hopefully, you've enjoyed listening to the Crotchety Old Men as much as we've enjoyed making each episode. If so, send us some feedback. We'd love to hear from you at the Crotchety Old Men podcast at gmail.com. Let us know what you enjoy about the show, what you'd like to hear more of. We'd love to receive your feedback. Remember, that's the Crotchety Old Men podcast at gmail.com. And as we always say, if you didn't know, now you know. Peace.